The Rebirth of the Malicious Empress of Military Lineage. Chapter 1. Disposing the Empress. During the early summer, when evening falls, there will always be sudden torrential rains. The skies were overcast, and the dark clouds was suppressing over the dignified atmosphere of the palace. The formerly magnificent palace hall was shrouded by the dark clouds as if it was a huge cage, trapping the people inside firmly. In the large chambers, the curtain seemed old as it was covered with a thick layer of dust. It was originally a hot weather, but one actually felt a little cold. Clothes and jewelry were scattered all over the floor as if a calamity had just went by. The female was half kneeling on the ground, looking at the person in front. This female was only in her 30s, but her face was like an old woman. There was deep hostility between her brows, her eyes were as dead as stagnant water, and they have seemingly unable to tear, like a long-dried well, but filled with a bottomless hatred. "Your ladyship, please." The eunuch beside had a bolt of white silk in his hands, and his tone could not hide his impatience. Zaja still needs to report back to His Majesty on the completion. Shenya's eyes landed on the eunuch, and she remained silent for a long time, before slowly speaking with a hoarse voice. "Shao Lizi, when Bengong promoted you at that time, you were still a dog beside Gao Gonggong." The eunuch slightly raised his head arrogantly. "Your ladyship, the present is different from the past. The present is different from the past," Shenya muttered before suddenly raising her head for a laugh. "What a good the present is different from the past." Because of a sentence, the present is different from the past. All the servants and courtiers who previously see her would be respectful and let her order them around. Because of the present is different from the past, she ended up with 3 chi of white silk to end her life. The past was what kind of past, and when did the present become the present? Was it starting from when Mei Furen entered the palace? From when the crown prince was disposed? Or when Princess Chang died tragically on her way to a long-distance marriage? Or was it when she came back to the palace from being a Qin's hostage 5 years ago? From the past to the present, from an empress to a disposed empress, it was all because of Fu Shui's one word. This entire court of officials would then change their looks. This Minky country would reverse black and white. What a good the present is different from the past. The doors of the hall squeaked open, and a pair of dragon-embroidered boots stopped in front of Shen Miao. Looking up, it was a bright yellow robe. "Seeing that you have followed Zen for 20 years, we'll grant you with an intact corpse. Thank this kindness," the emperor said. Shen Miao slowly raised her head and looked at the man that was high up above. Time did not leave any imprint on his face, as he was as handsome as he was in the beginning. He was the wise sovereign and justifiably son of heaven. He was the man that she had foolishly loved for 20 years, and the husband that she helped in humble circumstances over the years. Now he said to her, "Zen will grant you with an intact corpse. Thank this kindness." "Why?" Shan Miao asked difficultly. He did not reply. "Why the need to seize the entire Shen family?" she asked. Prince Ding Fushuyi was one of the 9 sons of the late emperor. Each of the 9 sons had their own merits. The crown prince was sickly and the emperor was not willing to alter the title of the crown prince, thus the princess took the turmoil as an opportunity. She had long felt for Prince Ding's peerless talent, and regardless of her family's persuasion, she finally got what she wanted, but also firmly tied the entire Shen family to Prince Ding together. Because of that, she dedicated herself to assist the Prince Ding, changing from a pampered daughter who didn't know anything to a prince consort who can participate in court, to come out with plans and give advice, and also stabilizing the country. On the day that Fu Shuyu ascended the throne, he established her as the empress, the mother to the world, which was the grandest. She thought that she was the grandest empress. When the prince's rebellion was quelled, the Xiaonu attacked, putting the neighboring countries at risk. In order to borrow troops, Shenmia voluntarily went to the Qin country as a hostage, and when she left, her children was not even a full month when Fu Shuyu said, "Zan will personally bring you back." 5 years later, she finally could return back to Mingqi, but there was an additional beautiful and talented Mei Furen in the inner palace. Mei Furen was an official's daughter that Fu Shuyu met during his expedition to the east. He liked her intelligence and sensibility and brought her back to the palace. Mei Furen gave birth to Prince Fu Cheng, which was much favored. In contrary, Shan Miao's son, the Crown Prince Fu Meng, was not favored at all. Fu Shuyu once said in the presence of the entire court, "Fu Meng's character is too soft. Fu Cheng is still the one who resembles me the most." His words clearly indicated his intentions to change the title of the Crown Prince. Mei Furen made Shan Miao felt a sense of crisis, and thus, in the palace, Shan Miao and Mei Furen had fought for 10 years. Mei Furen repeatedly gotten the upper hand that she even urged Fu Shuyu to marry her daughter Princess Wan Yu to the Xiongnu as a marriage alliance. The Xiongnu were very aggressive, and Princess Wan Yu died from an illness on the way to the marriage and was immediately cremated. Everyone knew the matter was strange, but as a mother, Shan Miao had no alternatives. At the end, she walked to where she was today. Fu Shuyu's one degree of Shan family revolted. The crown prince will be deposed, and he had committed suicide to atone for his offenses. She, as an empress, would also be deposed, and 3 chi of white silk was bestowed. She only wanted to ask one question: why? Shan Miao reasoned. "Fu Shiyi, have you got no conscience? You and I have been husband and wife for more than 20 years, and I did not do anything to let you down. When you first ascended to the throne, it was my Shen family that helped you. When you go into battle and the Xiongnu came to invade, it was me who helped you to write the letter of surrender. When you wanted to draw the high-ranking officials to your side, it was me who go on my knees to beg them to assist. I went to Qin country as a hostage and suffered torture and pain, and what did you reciprocate in return? Me Fern let Wan Yu got married. You draft the imperial decree, and Wan Yu was only 16 when she died. You favored Fu Chong and neglected Fu Meng, and the entire court was aware of it. Now you exterminate my entire clan, and now death is near at hand. I will ask you one question: why?" Shen Miao. Fu Shiyu frowned, but there was not the slightest change in expression, as if he was a cold statue. When Imperial Father was around, he had already wanted to deal with several big families. Shan family had accomplishments that could cover the masters so they cannot stay for long. It was Zen who persuaded Imperial Father. Zen let the Shen family survive for 20 years and is already the biggest bestowment to the Shen family. Already the biggest bestowment to the Shen family. The entire body of Shan Miao shook. These days, she had cried so much that her tears no longer flow out. She faced Fu Shuyu and said word for word, "Why keep the Shen family? It was not because of your kindness and not because of your bestowment. You only wanted to make use of the Shen family military power to fight with your D brothers. After the cunning hare dies, the hounds are boiled. Now that the country is settled, you destroyed the bridge after crossing the river. Fu Shu Yi, you are so heartless." Shen Miao! Fu Shuyi shouted angrily, as if he was stabbed at his sore spot. He then coldly scoffed. Make the best of it, then. Finishing his words, he walked out. Shen Miao crouched on the floor as she clenched her fists. This was the man that she loved for her entire life. She fought for his favor with Mei Furin and only found out at the end that it was not fighting for favor. This man's heart was never been with her at all. All the words of love were all an amusing play of a big joke. She spit out a mouthful of fresh blood out. Older sister, what is this? It looks awful. A sweet voice sounded. The female wore a light yellow robe with a hibiscus zone in front and a willow waist like a fairy from heavens. Her actions were also very graceful and moving as she approached. This was Mei Furin, who had the winning hand and fought with Shen Miao in her entire life. Behind Mei Furin there stood two females dressed in the palace robes. Shen Miao was surprised for a moment. Shen Qing, Shen Yue. This was the second and third household, second uncles and third uncle's daughters, her two older cousins. Why are they in the palace? His Majesty summoned us sisters in the palace. Shen Yue covered her lips as she smiled. Fifth younger sister need not be shocked. In the previous years, fifth younger sister loved to help a sister to matchmake. Now it would no longer be needed. His Majesty treats us sisters real well. You! Shenya's heart was like overturning seas and rivers, as in a lightning speed. She seemed to have understood something that she had never thought clearly about. Her voice sounded incredible as she said, You all have been delaying your marriage all for this day? That is exactly the way it is. Shenxing took a step forward. At the beginning, His Majesty had reached an agreement with my father and third uncle. As long as they are able to make you marry His Majesty, in time to come, we both sisters will also have the same place to go to. In the beginning, when Shan Miao was able to marry Fu Shuyi, the second and third households also put in a lot of effort. Now thinking back, initially when she fell in love with Fu Shuyi, it was second and third aunts who kept mentioning that Prince Ding was a talented youth, which made her feel sprouted. So actually, it was an agreement that was set up way earlier. So it was actually second and third households that has hidden their evil hearts and waited for everything to occur today. Shen Xing was afraid that Shen Miao didn't understand and continued. His Majesty is so capable and handsome, and we sisters have long admired him. Unfortunately, only first uncle had power in his hands and could force fifth younger sister to climb up first. Fifth younger sister had lived a fortunate life for many years before. Now our hour has come. Shen Qing! Shen Miao suddenly straightened herself up and voiced out. His Majesty says the entire Shen family, but let both of you enter the palace. How is the second and third household safe and sound? Of course, the second and third household would be safe and sound. Shen Yue covered her mouth and she laughed. Because we have done great service. The evidences of eldest uncle's rebellion were presented by our household as to place righteousness before family. Fifth younger sister, His Majesty bestowed high-ranking titles to our two households. Shenmiao looked at her own two cousins in shock and said, Are you all crazy? When the nest overturned, will any edge remain intact? The Shen family is one big family. Fu Shuyi wants to deal with the Shen family, but we all actually frame our own family members. Family members. Fifth younger sister, we did not acknowledge what the first household is our own family member. Shen Sheng laughed coldly. Moreover, you have enjoyed too much already. Now that the crown prince has died, the princess is no longer here, and the Shen family is destroyed. You should go earlier to the underworld and reunite with them. Mei Fern leisurely came forward and smiled brightly. Older sister, the country is stabilized and you should retire. After fighting for 10 years, Shan Miao at the end lost till a complete shambles. lost too tragically, lost till her clan had perished and she needs to mourn for her children. Lost till she become a laughing-stock to the world. Daughter had met with a violent death and the crown prince was disposed. Shen family who had sacrificed themselves for the country, not one of them was lucky to escape. In one dynasty, everything was overturned. She bitterly said, Bangong will not die as after all one is still a consort. Chen Gonggong, start now. Mi Furin gave a look to the eunuch. The plump eunuch immediately took a few steps forward and used one hand to grasp tightly Shen Miao's neck while he used the other hand to wring the white silk around Shen Miao's neck. When a forceful pull, the white silk tore into the flesh and bone, making a crisp sound from the bones. The female struggling on the floor stared with her large eyes, laying a poisonous vow in her heart. Her son, her daughter, her parents, brothers, sisters, servants. Everyone in the Shen family were all harmed. Fu Shu, Mei Furen, Shen Xing, Shen Yue, all the people who harmed her and harmed her loved ones. If there is an afterlife, a debt of blood must be paid in blood. It's the time to mourn, as everything between you and me are dead.